What up, though? This your boy DOC. And before we jump into this interview we did with Officer Greg Kading that was over the Tupac case, I want to go ahead and tell you guys to make sure you hit the notification bell and hit all. That's for all my subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to get all my alerts and notifications. Now, a while back, we did an interview with Officer Greg Kading. This particular interview was introduced to me by a gentleman named Jay, and we did a little bit of our own research and had a numerous amount of questions that we wanted to ask Greg Kading to get more details about the Tupac assassination, the evidence and affidavits that they used to come up with the conclusions to solve this case almost 20 years later. Now, the gentleman named Jay that introduced this interview to me did most of the questionings. You'll hear me periodically jump in and ask a few questions here and there. But hope you enjoy it. Make sure you hit like and share. And if you have any other questions that you would like to ask Greg Kading in the future about Tupac and these stories, make sure you drop a comment with those questions. Now here goes the interview. Throughout your whole investigation, when we were talking about the police being involved or not being involved, throughout your investigation, everything you were doing, did you ever have the opportunity to investigate any police officers, even though Death Row did have strong ties to the the police during that time, and some were supposed to be mob Piru members?
Yeah. So, yep, I know where you're going with this. Yeah. So absolutely, we looked at all of that. Now, by the time we looked at this, you've got to keep in mind that had already been thoroughly investigated by a whole group of different people from different agencies. So back in the 90s, when people were hearing that cops were moonlighting over at Death Row, the LAPD got very, very concerned about that, and their internal affairs division started to investigate. They went around, went to Reggie Wright Jr., who do you have on your payroll? Reggie Wright said, here's all the people on my payroll. The LAPD realized that they did, in fact, have somebody that was moonlighting, a guy named Kevin McCauley. They brought him in. They threatened him. They said, listen, you don't have a work permit, and you certainly can't be fraternizing with these known criminals. You're prohibited from working. He says, don't worry, I won't. Then he does. He just turns right back around and starts moonlighting again. And so they bring him in, and they demote him. He gets a demotion, and then they discover that he then again goes to Las Vegas at the time Tupac is shot, and he gets married to a girl, even though he's married. He's already married back here in California, and so they actually filled out a crime report against him for bigamy, which is against the law. It's amazing to believe that is still a law. That they were very serious about identifying and holding people responsible who were working as bodyguards for Death Row. But he was the only one from LAPD. There was guys from San Bernardino and some guys from Inglewood, some guys from Compton, and those agencies had to do their own business with their personnel. But as far as the LAPD goes, yes, thoroughly investigated. And then years later, when this whole thing came up again, the FBI got involved, and the FBI investigated the LAPD for their investigation. And then they drew the conclusions that LAPD did exactly what they were supposed to. They identified the problems, they dealt with the problems, and we can't find any connections to corruption or to involvement in the murders. And then by the time we get it, we do it a third time and come up with the same conclusion.
Right.
I just want to go back real quick to you. I think the question was when Keffe D, I know that you asked about when he made the comment to Bond, but when he's talking to me, when I get his confession, it's me, my partner Darren Dupree, another LAPD supervisor named Bill Holcomb, and an FBI agent named, gosh darn it, why am I losing his name? Jeff Bennett. So Jeff Bennett, and then Keffe D's lawyer sat in there the whole time too, a guy named Wayne Higgins. Wayne Higgins.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a group of like 6 of us in the room that time.
Okay, I got you. Now, yes, so this is a night question, right? In Murder Rap, it says that, Keffe says that, well, first let me ask you, so what was Orlando doing? So he was in the MGM by himself when he got stomped out. Where were the other trips at during that time?
So they were just around. Have you been to the MGM?
Once.
Okay, so if you go there and you know where like the elevator lobby is and the fountain and everything where the fight took place, to kind of go around to the right and keep hanging right, so you get over to like the food court area, and that's where Keffe and those guys were all at over there. And you know, because the fight ended quicker than anybody expected, so there wasn't like a set up meetup point. Orlando Anderson didn't get a ticket when they all went out there and they got there. You know, they went to scalpers and. Those guys weren't all even able to sit together. So after the fight, it's just chaos. As you can see from the videos, there's just oceans of people everywhere leaving the auditorium. And Orlando Anderson's just trying to figure out how he's going to go find his uncle and hook up with everybody. And that's when Trayvon Lane saw him and pointed them out to Tupac.
Okay, so he was going to meet up with them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that happened, I think the next accounting you have of him at the bar when Corey Edwards says that he saw, or he met up with Keefe, and then at that point after he gets stomped out, right? Or does that happen after he gets questioned? The video where you see him get questioned by a whole bunch of people, I guess that happens next, right? And I know.
Yeah, that's going on simultaneous. So that's going on as they're kind of taking him aside, and he's saying he doesn't want to press charges, and they're trying to figure out who he was, and he's saying, I don't want to press charges. Well, of course, security and cops are like, they just want the problem to go away. They have to deal with all of this chaos, and, you know, it's just a minor assault, really, at the end of the day. It's not like he gets stabbed or anything. And he's like, you don't want to press charges? Okay, fine. Get out of the, you know, everybody just get out of the casino. Let's just move on. Well, while that's going on is when Keffe first hears that Orlando Anderson got stopped out. So he's over at the food court and learning that there was a problem.
Okay. And did the Crips, they drove into Vegas that night?
Yeah, they had driven in. Orlando Anderson was with his girlfriend. Corey Edwards was with Lisa. Yeah, he was with his wife Lisa. Keffe's wife was there. His brother Kevin's wife was there. I know Lynn was there, but I don't know if Lynn was with a girl. And yeah, they had taken rental cars out there.
Okay, yeah, I think Corey Edwards says that. I think he said his wife was going to meet come later. I think that's probably why he went out looking for girls that night later on. So I guess they, in your, I guess investigation, they took two cars out to Vegas. The immediate Southside Crips, the van and the Cadillac, the white Cadillac.
Yeah, and then Keffe had his a separate car. He might have had like a Buick Regal or something like that. But there were at least three cars, but there was probably 5 or 6.
Okay.
We know the van and the white Cadillac were the most important ones just because of their involvement at the time.
Right. And I know you probably heard this before. The security guard, the undercover or whoever that shook Orlando's hand. I know in a prior interview you said that was not Reggie Wright Sr. And I heard Reggie Wright Jr. say that that's not Reggie Wright Sr. And I think you said that Reggie, the guy in the picture, had hair. Reggie Wright Sr. did not have hair at that time. I think you said before. If that's the case, I mean, do we know who that guy in the picture is? Like, did any police officer or any security guy or anyone come forward and say that can't be Reggie Wright? That's me.
Yeah, no, because that person's probably not even aware of the fact that there's a conspiracy community out here saying this. You know, I mean, this is all kind of myopic. That guy, whoever he is, I'm sure is, 75 years old, sitting in a house somewhere on a lake and has no idea that his picture is even being talked about. Yeah. So no, a lot of people, the vast majority of the people in that recorded video, we have no idea who those people are.
Okay.
I mean, there's a picture that they're saying I was there. They're like, oh, look, here's Kading in this picture.
I heard that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. That was basically the same question I was going to ask, the same format, like have these individuals been able to be verified? Because I know, just the way my mind ticks, if I was ever put in a position or put in a place somewhere I'm not that's associated with a crime, I'm going to try to go out my way to, especially with the police connection, there's probably not a big, disconnect between LAPD and Las Vegas, to try to get in contact with these people, especially if they're still alive, to go ahead and, to just disprove that whole theory so people can stop running with it. 'Cause I think the same place that I seen those two pictures of one person saying it was you and then another picture saying it was the other guy, they put up a Facebook post. I'm not going to say her first name, but her last name start with a D, Kading, saying, oh, you're here in Vegas moonlighting too. And they were saying that this is supposed to be evidence that I guess the Kading family or something was in Las Vegas that night.
Right. So that was my wife. She's making a sarcastic comment. She's laughing at the idea that these guys are posting this photo and they're alleging it was me. And so she makes this comment like, "Oh, you were in Vegas too?" Like joking about it. Like, what a joke. And so that's what that was. Her name's Donna, by the way. Steve.
I didn't want to put it out there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's okay. No, I appreciate that. But, no, it was just her laughing at it and going, "Oh, look, Hudson, you were out there." So,
don't tell Donna we're not going to get you in trouble.
Thanks.
Okay. So then they're in the bar, and Corey Edwards basically says that Orlando says that he wants to shoot a fair one with Pac, and he got jumped, and he's like, he wants to shoot a fair one with him, and basically, because I think he felt he got sucker punched and then jumped on, so he's like, yo, I'll shoot the fair one with Pac, and Corey said something to the effect of, man, let's go handle it when we get home. And Orlando's like, would you want to handle it if you got home with you or me? And Corey's like, yeah, you're right. Let's roll. Something
right.
like that.
Right. And Corey's not built like that. Corey's not a shooter. Corey's a drug dealer.
Right.
He's just not built like, there's different guys in the gang that kind of have different, attitudes and different, it's just like in your circle of friends. You have some friends that are just really mellow, and then you have some guys that can't handle their liquor, and so Corey's not one of those guys that's like trying to go out and kill anybody. It's just not his kind of style. But then he knows Orlando, and he knows what Orlando's capable of. So I think he's like, shit, I can't rank out on my gang, but at the same time, fuck, I don't want anything to do with this.
Yep.
And that's why they were mad at him, because he reached out to Suge Knight, because, of course, Corey knew that Suge Knight and the mob probably really knew that the Southsiders had done it. So Corey's like, yo, Suge, just so you know, I know my name's going to come up. I had nothing to do with that. I want nothing to do with that. And when they found out that he had kind of ranked out in order to clear his name, that's why they started to really shit on Corey.
Corey, I can see that. I can definitely see that play out like that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I guess Keffe said that they basically didn't go out there for this. They went out there to fight. We've been watching the fight for years now. So they were out there for a good time. And Zip is out there, right? But I guess the other, and you have a confidential informant that's in murder rap. But you don't mention his name, but I guess you said he corroborated all of the stories, right? I think he had mentioned that in September of '96, they planned to kill Suge and Pac at Club 662, but when Orlando got stomped, they said they were going to handle it right there and then. And that kind of sounds like different to me, because Keffe said they had no intention of doing nothing until Orlando got stomped, and Zip suggested it to him. That confidential informant said that they planned to, in September of '96, to hit Suge and Pac at Club 662. But then because of the Orlando interesting incident. I guess they decided to do it right there and then.
I've never read or heard anything about an informant saying that they went out there to do a hit at Club 662. I've never ever seen or.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
So basically, what I did was during the murder rap video, there's some sections, right, where you talk about, I guess, the informant, and there's pages that are shown for like maybe 10, 15 seconds. I paused the page where it reads off about the confidential informant, and where it says I think the CI says in September 1996 it planned it. So it was part of one of those pages with that pause on the murder rap documentary that was, I guess, being read off regarding that informant. I mean, I think what's happening right there, and I'd have to, to be sure, look at the document, but I think what's happening there is you're reading it in a certain manner that maybe is not the way it was meant to be written. So we were talking to an informant, and he says, yeah, in September of 1996, they went out there in order to kill him at Club 662, which is true. Mm-hmm. They did, but the conspiracy to do the killing didn't start until after Orlando got stumped, and then there was a plan to go kill Tupac and Suge at Club 662. So that's all he's saying. He's taking this and not putting it in a specific chronological order. He's just saying that this happened in September of '96. They were going to go to the club and kill Tim. Mm-hmm. But we're not seeing written in there is that plan wasn't hatched until after the beatdown. Okay, and this was Zip's suggestion that they handle it right there. And I think Kiki said, well, we ain't got no Jimmy, and Zip's like, all right, well, I got you covered. Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And
there was two informants. There was an informant that was a New York guy that was part of a small crew that knew Zip, and they were there when Zip was essentially saying, "Hey, let's handle this right now. I've got we've got artillery out here." I think was the comment. Zip says we got artillery out here, and then of course Zip and Keefe go out to the car, and that's when Keefe talks about Zip saying, "Hey, let's kill two birds with one stone. Your nephew just got stomped. You already know about the deal with Puffy. Let's just handle this business right here and now." And that's when they said, "All right, we're going to go to Club 662 and find him."